Hey friends, it's Monday. Welcome to the day that is today. Crap, start over. Hey friends, welcome to Monday. It's also Amazon Prime Day, in case you didn't know. If you want to pick stuff up on Amazon Prime, we have links in the video description. And specifically, one of the things that we did a video on over at the UFD Tech channel is this TicWatch Pro, which is a dual screen smartwatch. I love it so much. I get 5 days battery life. Some people can get 28 days based on their, if you just use one of the screens and not the other screen. Anyways, I really loved it. It was a paid video over on UFD Tech. They're not paying anything for me to say it right now, but it's 30% off, and I love that. I would buy this watch myself if they didn't send it to me and pay me to talk about it. I'm a shill, what can I say? Or you can pick up any of the other things that might be on sale for Prime Day down below at the link in the video description, or check out our website, UFD Deals, which is ufd.tech. You can check that out down below as well. We're gonna be posting all of the best deals that we can find on tech products as well, even if they might be on, let's say, Newegg or Amazon. So just check that out. Make us money by clicking on things so you save money. That's how it works. But now let's talk about a way that AMD doesn't want to make money, which is by selling X470 motherboards that might have PCI Express 4.0 compliance, because there's been this whole thing that's been going on between AMD and other motherboard vendors where they say, oh yeah, no, our motherboards can totally do PCI Express 4.0. And AMD was like, no. And then ASUS was like, shut up, I'm gonna do it anyways. And so they've rolled out a BIOS update for PCI Express 4.0 on their X470 motherboards. And you can see that it's working because you get like 5 gigabytes read on the NVMe drives, which is basically where PCI Express 4.0 is gonna work. AMD, for some reason, doesn't like this. And so they're like giving a very hardline stance on this, almost kind of like how Intel responded to some like microcode updates that they did when you could overclock non-K CPUs for Skylake on Z170 motherboards. I believe I'm going way back. Anyways, Intel is just like, no, you're not allowed to overclock it, even though it makes sense that you can. No, we lock it down via BIOS, and that's apparently what AMD is saying. In a response to a non-tech, a representative for AMD said, our plan is unchanged for the reliability and consistency reasons cited at Computex. We intend to disable PCI Express Gen 4 for pre-X570 motherboards. That AGESA is being released to motherboard manufacturers soon. So AMD is saying, screw you, no, here's the BIOS update that you're supposed to be rolling out to your X470 boards, get rid of it. And then it would obviously be on the motherboard manufacturers to determine whether or not they're going to comply with AMD. I feel like this is a selling point though. Like, you can roll out PCI Express 4.0 to other motherboards. Obviously there's some like compliance issues to where you couldn't actually ever market it, and that might be why AMD is doing it, because it's not actually technically compliant with the standard, even though it can do the same things that the standard can do. It's just that they're gonna be a little heavy-handed and just roll out a BIOS and potentially ask ASUS to remove the BIOS that they have out that would allow you to enable PCI Express 4.0. It just feels like AMD is shooting itself here, and I don't quite understand it. Maybe you guys have a different perspective. You can let me know down below. What do you think of AMD removing PCI Express 4.0 support on previous or pre-X570 motherboards? I don't like it, but what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. But something good that is coming out is new X570 BIOSes that will allow some motherboards that don't have this feature already to actually wind down the fan on the X570 chipset, because our ASRock X570 Tai Chi that we have in our test bench over there, that thing at stock is freaking annoying. It's not loud, it's just louder than everything else in the system when it's running on idle, which is stupid. ASRock has already included some fan settings that you can do to it, so this doesn't really apply to them, but other ones like Gigabyte will now have something like a silent, balanced, and performance mode for the chipset. And given DeBauer's videos about like the chipset power draw and all of that kind of stuff, it doesn't really seem like you'll need more than silent, because even a passive heatsink should be able to deal with the 10 watts that it's gonna draw at max, even though it's rated for 15. It's a whole big thing. Anyways, you're gonna have silent motherboards, because that's probably one of the most annoying features of X570. Besides the fact, well, this has nothing to do with the motherboard. Anyways, this is Ryzen 3000. AMD has promised that they're fixing the issues with Destiny 2 and Linux. Promise. We're gonna get you to play that game that nobody's playing. I know 1 million people play it. The last time I mocked it, people got so offended. Jeez, Destiny 2 weeps. I'm kidding. But AMD also, besides the whole, PCI Express 4.0 issue that they're doing, they are seemingly trying to keep consumer friendliness, because if you go to their website and let's say you have a X470 motherboard that can't support Ryzen 3000 and you sold your old chip and you're just kind of screwed because you can't update the BIOS for it, well, they actually have a free boot kit that you'll have to return to them, but they'll send it out to you so that you can actually update your BIOS for the Ryzen 3000 chips and then be on your merry way. You can do this by contacting them over on their RMA forum page. Obviously, it's going to be at their discretion whether or not they send it out to you, but it is something that they're offering. So for anybody who got screwed over by buying an older motherboard that doesn't have the BIOS update yet, you're not out of luck completely. And then also not out of luck, anybody who wants a cheaper Navi card, because the cheapest one we have right now is selling at $350. And that's too rich for many people's blood. But now there's been leaks of the Navi 14 GPU that appears to be slightly slower than the RX 5700, will likely be called the RX 5600, and it has 1,536 stream processors as opposed to the 2560 that the 5700 has, which will likely put it in the region of like a GTX 1660 or an RX 590, finally replacing Polaris. It looks like the clock speed's also going to be similar to the current Navi cards of hitting about like 19 or 1.9 gigahertz boost and all of that kind of stuff. And potentially no price indicated just yet, but if I had to guess, I would expect a price range of around $200 to $250, which isn't terrible. If it's $200 and it beats a 590, then I'm happy with it. Also GDDR6, all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's not the only little bit of GPU news that we have. AMD is apparently retiring the Radeon VII less than 5 months after launch, which goes in direct objection to the previous roadmaps that they leaked, or the previous roadmaps that were out back in like Q2 when AMD was talking about their plan for the rest of the year. They said that Navi and the Radeon 7 would be their selling plan through Q4 of 2019. So AMD's pulling back on that, but it does make sense because all of the reports that have come out about the Radeon 7 is that it costs more to manufacture than they're selling it for. It's probably about $750, especially when you take into account that it's 16 gigabytes of HBM2. So this isn't necessarily a dumb move by them. It's just kind of against what they said that they were going to do, which is sell it for the rest of the year. But with the 5700 XT sometimes beating the Radeon 7 in certain games, I mean, why would you pay $700 for the card? It might be the fastest AMD card that's out on the market, but that doesn't mean that it's actually worth the price. And then, in case you have a new Ryzen 3000 chip and you've been noticing that you have high idle voltage, Robert Hollick from AMD has reported that was likely due to what he's calling an observer effect, which is that the program that you're using to monitoring the voltage is activating the boost activation on the Ryzen 3000 chip. So it's like kind of always entering in this like you need to speed up mode so the voltage keeps going higher even though it's not actually doing anything. He said that CPU-Z and AMD Ryzen Master will likely give you the best results, but to only use one of them at a time, so they're both not pinging the CPU all the freaking time. So check that out. It's likely not an actual issue with Ryzen 3000. It's just something that you're directly influencing by observing it. But let's talk about Intel's response to AMD, because Comet Lake, which we had those leaks out for last week, indicated that it might actually be slightly competitive for Ryzen 3000. However, the latest indication is that we're not getting Comet Lake until 2020, and that the only release this year is going to be the 9900KS, which is kind of lame, especially since we just got a leaked benchmark showing that the 9900KS, with its 4 gigahertz base clock and 5 gigahertz boost clock, is basically not better than the 3800X, and it's probably going to be $100 more. Intel's in trouble. This is bad. But they're not in trouble in all areas, because the latest reports on PC shipments has come out, and it's actually up a surprising amount in Q2 of 2019, being up 4.7%, which is higher than most estimations put it at. And one of the biggest reasons is that Intel's supply shortage for mobile stuff has gone down. So they're actually able to meet the demand for mobile chips. And then speaking of chips, on a shoulder of Disney against Netflix, bad segue. Anyways, they are pulling the plug on FX's streaming service known as FX Plus, and instead just going to be rolling it out to Hulu, which is slightly good because then that means we have less streaming services. So this is kind of a win, but it's only because they're going to be monopolizing elsewhere. It's a sad streaming time we live in. But you know what's not sad? This new SD card reader from Sony, which they're claiming is the world's fastest. It's a USB hub that allows you to get up to 300 megabytes per second read out of your SD cards. I love this thing. 100-watt power delivery. It's gonna be Type-C. It looks great. I want it so much. There's no price. There's no release date. I wanna buy one right now, especially because that's probably a large bottleneck for our production here at UFD Tech or Hot News. UFD Media is the ingestion of footage, and we don't have a server room like Linus. Anyways, you know who else doesn't have things? Niantic. They're shutting down their first app, Field Trip. Niantic, obviously known for Pokemon Go and that new Harry Potter crap. Yeah, they're getting rid of their first game. Cool. And then MIT has developed a synthetic fiber robot muscles that could potentially help out with like robots and prosthetics. It's not indicated whether or not this is going to come out to production just yet, but MIT researchers finding a way to give robot muscles.
You got to shock the muscle, and shock the muscle.
And then scientists, for the first time ever, have pictured quantum entanglement, which is kind of cool. I don't know a whole lot about quantum theory, quantum mechanics, or quantum physics, and nobody else in the world does, but we've pictured it for the first time, and I don't know how you picture these things, but it's done. Good job, scientists. And then the FTC has approved a $5 billion record-setting fine against Facebook for privacy violations that happened with the Cambridge Analytica scheme, where they sold basically everybody's data to a third party for political reasons. Anyways, $5 billion, obviously not a whole heckin' lot to a massive corporation like Facebook, but it is unprecedented in its size, being the largest fine that the FTC has ever doled out. Crazy. Whether or not they're going to change depends on your perspective because of, I mean, how much is this actually going to affect Facebook's bottom line? And then in case you love emulators, and in case you love Steam for some reason, RetroArch, however you want to pronounce it, I'm sure you guys are going to wage war down in the comments about it, is going to be on Steam for free July 30th. So you can integrate those two things all in one. And you know what else I'm going to integrate in my life? The end of Hot News. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Don't forget, today is Amazon Prime Day. Use our links in the video description to pick up stuff that's on sale that you like, or things that you've been waiting to pick up, but you decided not to, but now I'm telling you to, so buy them. Also hit the like button if you enjoyed this Hot News. Get subscribed, stay up to date on all of our Hot News related Hot News. And I'm Brett with the Hot News channel. You've just been hot newsed. Love you too. Bye.